Friend, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine walking into a room where you're a complete stranger. No one knows your name, your story, your wins, or your failures. Yet, as soon as you step inside, something shifts. Conversations quiet, eyes turn your way, and a subtle tension fills the air. No one said a word, but a judgment has already been made in less than 7 seconds. Feel that? You haven't even opened your mouth, and you've already been placed on a pedestal or buried in oblivion. That's the power of first impressions. Now, what if I told you that you could influence that judgment? That most of the people who've underestimated you did so because of unconscious signals you were sending? The way you entered the space, the silence you kept or didn't keep. It's a silent sentence, a brutal judgment executed in less than 7 seconds. Friend, here's the scary part. You do it too. You scan strangers, you classify them, you file them away. Ever wonder how many opportunities you've missed by issuing that premature judgment? And how many others have missed opportunities because they judged you without hearing you? We're all guilty. Are you tired of falling victim to it? Friend, now imagine you could write the script for that first impression, that every step, every gesture, every look had a purpose, that you no longer relied on chance or a good day. Imagine walking into any room knowing exactly how you'd be perceived, as the one who dominates the conversation before speaking, as the one who commands respect without raising their voice, as the one no one dares to underestimate. What could that change? Friend, the world doesn't wait for you to explain who you are. It measures you in seconds. If you don't control those seconds, they control you. This isn't new. This subtle manipulation, this automatic reading of who someone is, has been happening for centuries. It's an ancient dance between perception and presence. Friend, there are those who unknowingly dance it clumsily, stumbling over their own insecurities. And there are others who direct it in silence, without asking permission, without the need to speak. Do you want to know how it's done? Do you want to stop being seen as prey and become the silent predator of the interaction? You don't need to shout. You don't need titles. You don't even need charisma. You need to understand how the invisible machinery of human perception works. Forgets words but records energy. Friend, this isn't a motivational video. I'm not here to inflate your ego. I'm here to give you the tools that very few know and that almost no one wants you to discover. Because when you learn how to control how others see you, you no longer play on the board. You're the one who moves it. Friend, think about the people who've had the most impact on your life. Do you really remember what they said? Or do you remember how they made you feel in those first few seconds? The mind forgets words, but it records energy, posture, silence, intention. That's the real weapon, and you've always had it. You just didn't know how to use it. Friend, it doesn't matter how much you talk about yourself, how hard you try to explain your intentions or your values. If your energy doesn't convey them from the first second, everything you say afterwards sounds like justification. The world isn't listening to your words. It's reading your essence, and it does so before you can even decide how you'd like to be understood. Friend, one of the most ignored but most powerful tools is anticipation. The way you think before entering a social situation determines how you'll be perceived. The first contact doesn't begin when you cross the door. It starts in your mind. Friend, it's not acting, it's intention. How many times have you walked into a meeting thinking, I hope I make a good impression? You've already lost because your energy is of submission. The expectation of being accepted is noticeable. It's sensed. It shrinks you. Your body language adapts to that desire and you project it without realizing it. Friend, now imagine that before that same meeting, you repeat to yourself, I will observe, I will occupy my space, I will enter with the certainty that I already belong. What you're doing there is anchoring yourself. It's psychological training. You're placing yourself in the right frequency before the first exchange of glances. And that frequency is what others will pick up on. Friend, another brutally effective trick, learn to slow down your movements. I'm not talking about trying to seem interesting or empty posturing. I'm talking about controlling the rhythm. Most people who feel uncomfortable in a new environment speed up. They walk fast, they talk fast, they move nervously. What does that provoke? It causes others to automatically perceive insecurity. Friend, mastering the rhythm is mastering the narrative. When you walk slower, when you look without fear, when you make strategic pauses in your speech, you're projecting something extremely powerful, control. And control in this invisible game of impressions is synonymous with respect. Friend, But now, let's talk about something even more underestimated: the use of the environment. Most people walk into a new place without understanding that every space has its own invisible rules. And those rules aren't dictated by the loudest one, but by the one who positions themselves best. Friend, those who control the interaction from the beginning choose where to be. They position themselves strategically. They don't hide. They don't stick to the wall. They don't look for corners to go unnoticed. They place themselves where they can be seen without appearing to seek attention. A visible spot with a good visual angle of the environment without physical barriers separating you from the others. There's an even more powerful dimension than posture, gaze, or silence, and it's emotional vibration. Sounds abstract, but it's not. We've all been near someone who, without saying a word, generates calm or tension, and we know it because we feel it. That comes from emotional management. You can't project confidence if you're fighting with yourself inside. If before any social encounter, you take an internal pause, not to think about what you're going to say, but to align your breath, feel your body, mentally affirm your purpose, you're programming your nervous system to emit signals of security. Authentic calm can't be imitated, it's felt, it's imposed. And when you project it, something incredible happens. People lower their guard, they open up. Because seeing you so firm inside, they feel protected. And when people feel protected around you, they begin to see you as a reference, as someone who leads without asking for it, without wanting it, just by being there, solid, unshakable. Here comes one of the most Machiavellian things you can do. Observe this. Most people feel insecure in social interactions because they're waiting for a reaction from the other person. A smile, a gesture of approval, something that confirms they're doing things right. Now, imagine you eliminate that expectation, and instead of waiting for validation, you begin to give it. You decide when to smile, who to look at, who to nod at. You set the rhythm. At that moment, you completely change the dynamic. You've gone from being the one who seeks to fit in to the one who decides who fits in with you. This isn't arrogance, it's intention. It's awareness of power. It's stepping out of the passive role we've been taught since childhood, the one where we ask for permission to exist, and moving into creating presence without apologizing for it. No one is going to save your self-esteem. No one will lift your spirits every time you doubt yourself. No one will train you to be perceived as someone of value. That's your job, and it starts here. Understanding that in the first seconds of any interaction, your essence isn't being evaluated. Your vibration is being read, and you define that vibration. What truly transforms your presence is the accumulation of internal decisions you make before the world looks at you. How you breathe, how you position yourself, what you allow to cross your mind just before facing others' judgments. That's your real preparation. Those with real presence seem to have an aura because they're not competing. They don't need to convince. They're not seeking approval. They're at peace with themselves. And that is magnetic. Because in a world of social anxiety, the one who projects calm seems like a god. Keep listening, because what's coming next will hurt, but it will also liberate you. The true abyss that separates those who master others' perception from those who are constantly ignored or underestimated isn't aesthetics. It's not expensive clothes. It's not even charisma. It's the relationship they have with rejection. If you fear being rejected, you project that you should be rejected. Rejection isn't an external threat. It's a reaction to your internal insecurity. People who fear not being liked often adopt defensive postures, subtle but clear. The primitive human brain interprets doubt as weakness and weakness as a possible burden. And what does it do with a potential burden? It distances itself. It avoids you. It discards you. When you face that fear, the fear of not being liked, of being judged, of not measuring up, and consciously decide not to beg anyone for anything, something in your energy changes. They notice it instantly. You're no longer waiting for permission to exist. You're saying with your very presence, I'm here. You can accept it or not, but I won't change for you. And that, my friend, is pure power. Let me take you a little deeper to an even darker but fascinating area, the use of strategic vulnerability. I don't mean exposing yourself as a martyr or unloading your traumas seeking empathy. I mean showing cracks consciously controlled and with a purpose. If everything you project is strength, you might seem unreachable. But when at the right moment, you reveal a weakness without losing control, the perception created is devastating. This person is so confident that they're not afraid to show their human side. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak if you know when and how to use it. On the contrary, it adds depth, it adds nuance, it humanizes your presence. It's not enough to control your body, your voice, your energy. There's a deeper layer, the why behind what you're doing, the invisible purpose that drives your gestures, your words, your attitude. People don't read your mind, but they perceive if you're acting out of anxiety, fear, competition, or from a pure, clear, and compelling intention. Vibrational coherence. What you think, what you feel, and what you do must align. If you project firmness but doubt inside, it's noticeable. They may not be able to put it into words, but something doesn't fit, and that incoherence generates rejection, even if you don't know why. When you enter a space with your thoughts, emotions, and actions perfectly aligned, the effect is magnetic. You can't fake coherence. Either you have it or you don't. And that's built with internal practice, not rehearsed phrases. Learn to generate tension. Instead of avoiding it like everyone else, learn to generate it, sustain it, and master it. Tension creates attention, and whoever controls attention controls the interaction. Don't answer every question instantly. Don't laugh every time others do. Don't feel uncomfortable silences. Most people hate silence and rush to fill it. You don't, you use it. Because when you hold silence with calm, all eyes turn towards you. They wait. They wonder what you're thinking. And that's where your power comes from, not from noise, but from controlling the pause. What story do you radiate by being present? We all project an unconscious narrative. I'm successful, I'm approachable, I'm dangerous, I'm irrelevant. And we project it without saying it, through micro gestures, pauses, reactions. Whoever learns to build a narrative consistent with their presence doesn't need to explain themselves, because every part of their being is telling the same story, a story that others want to believe. This requires an absolute mastery of your values, your vision, and your identity. And that is something you can train too, through brutal self-analysis, uncomfortable silence, and detachment from the need for approval. Because the less you depend on how others see you, the more you can control what they see. Paradoxical, right? But true. You don't need to be liked. You need to generate a clear impression. And that impression must be built with intention, not by chance. It doesn't matter if you're kind, distant, provocative, or elegant. What matters is that you are consciously that way. That you choose which version of yourself to show. That version is sharp like a blade. In a world where everyone wants to be liked, you need to be unforgettable. That's not achieved by begging for sympathy. It's achieved by building a presence so solid, so clear, so centered, that anyone who crosses your path can't ignore you, even if they want to. This isn't arrogance. This is strategy. Because remember, in the first few seconds, they've already decided. The question is, who's really making that decision? Them or you?